Can you imagine being left alone on the deserted surface of Mars? The thought itself is scary, isn't it? Our dear Ingenuity has met a similar fate. NASA's Perseverance Rover recently snapped a picture of its damaged buddy, the Ingenuity helicopter. In the photo, Ingenuity looks still, sitting on a sandy hill in the background while the rocky Mars landscape fills the front. The picture was clicked on February 4th, 2024 at around 1:05 p.m. local Mars time, about 2 weeks after it got damaged and its mission came to an end. Ingenuity got hurt on January 18th when it landed on a flat, bland part of Mars covered in sand. Normally, the helicopter relies on seeing things like rocks to guide itself, but during its 70-second flight, it couldn't see anything helpful around. The experts at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, JPL, are still checking the damage to Ingenuity's blades, but no matter what they discover, the helicopter can't fly anymore. And so, its mission is over. Want to know exactly what happened? Welcome to Universe Revealed. The Ingenuity Mars helicopter is a small aircraft that traveled to Mars attached to the Perseverance Rover. Its purpose was experimental and separate from the rover's scientific mission. It was launched on July 30th, 2020, along with the Perseverance Rover. The rover carried Ingenuity attached to its belly. Ingenuity and Perseverance landed on Mars on February 18th, 2021. After Perseverance landed successfully on the Martian soil, it took some time before Ingenuity was deployed on the surface. This happened on April 4th, 2021, after the rover found a good spot to release the helicopter. And finally, Ingenuity touched the surface of Mars. Next, the helicopter did something amazing. It became the first aircraft ever to fly under its own power on another planet. In the weeks following its initial flight, Ingenuity completed 4 more flights, each one longer, faster, and covering more distance than the last. Originally, this marked the end of its planned mission. The idea was for Perseverance to continue its scientific work while leaving the helicopter behind. However, scientists found another use for Ingenuity: scouting. When Perseverance moved to investigate rocks in the southern area, Ingenuity tagged along, scouting ahead of the rover. This helped prevent wasting time driving to rocks that seemed interesting in satellite images but turned out to be unremarkable up close. Since then, the duo have been exploring a place called Jezero Crater. They found clues suggesting there were lakes or rivers there billions of years ago, possibly giving life a chance. Ingenuity helped Perseverance by scouting out interesting spots for it to check out. But why was Ingenuity sent to Mars? The helicopter was sent because NASA wanted to test flying a helicopter on another planet. The rover's main job was to look for evidence of past life on Mars and gather samples that could be brought back to Earth later. On the other hand, Ingenuity's mission was purely experimental. It was sent to Mars to see if it could fly under its own power and be controlled while doing so. This has never been done before on another planet, but every success story comes to an end. In recent weeks, NASA and JPL have accepted that Ingenuity's groundbreaking mission has ended. Flying on Mars is difficult because its gravity is only about 1/3 as strong as Earth's, and its atmosphere has only 1% of the pressure. This means there are far fewer air molecules for Ingenuity's 2 4-foot-wide rotor blades to push against in order to fly. The helicopter's flights are independent and self-controlled. It's guided by its own systems for navigation and control, which are programmed by the team at JPL. Since communication with Mars happens over millions of miles through orbiting satellites and NASA's Deep Space Network, Ingenuity can't be flown manually with a joystick. Also, its flights can't be watched live from Earth. For Ingenuity to work on Mars, it needs help from the Perseverance rover to communicate with Earth. After its 5th test flight on May 7, 2021, the Ingenuity project entered a new phase to show how aerial scouting and other tasks could help future Mars exploration and missions to other planets. Data collected from these flights is also being used to decide if small helicopters could be used as their own science craft, carrying scientific instruments. NASA's Ingenuity Mars helicopter has done 72 flights since it first flew above Mars on April 19, 2021. This is way more than the original plan of just 5 flights to test its technology. Some of the key moments from Ingenuity's successful time on Mars are as follows. Ingenuity made history by being the first aircraft to fly under its own power on another planet, which some people have compared to the Wright brothers' achievement. It flew for a total of 128.8 minutes, covering a distance of 10.5 miles or 17 kilometers, and reaching heights of up to 78.7 feet or 24 meters. Despite Mars having a very thin atmosphere, Ingenuity managed to fly successfully. It also helped identify interesting areas on Mars for the Perseverance rover to explore. Its success opens doors for future flying explorers on Mars and possibly other planets in space. Before we proceed with what went wrong with Ingenuity, let's learn what is so special about the Jezero crater. Jezero crater is located in a region on Mars called Isidis Planitia, where a big meteorite hit long ago, forming a large crater about 750 miles or 1,200 kilometers wide. This event, known as the Isidis impact, changed the rocks in the area permanently. Later, another smaller meteorite made the Jezero crater within the bigger Isidis impact basin. Scientists think that these impacts might have created conditions suitable for life. There are signs that a river used to flow into Jezero, forming a delta, but it's been dry for a long time now. Jezero crater gives us clues about Mars' past when it was sometimes wet and sometimes dry. Over 3.5 billion years ago, rivers flowed into the crater and formed a lake. Scientists believe that clay minerals from the surrounding area were carried into the lake by the water. It's possible that tiny organisms like microbes could have lived in the lake during these wet periods. If they did, we might find their remains in the sediments at the bottom of the lake or along its shorelines. Scientists want to study how the region formed and changed over time. They also want to look for signs of past life and collect samples of Mars rocks and soil that might hold these signs. So it's likely that Jezero crater was once a place where life could have existed in the distant past. Now that we know why our two buddies were working so hard to find the truth about this crater, let's talk about what went wrong with our Martian birdie. The team in charge of Ingenuity planned for the helicopter to take a quick vertical flight on January 18, 2024. This was to figure out where it was after it had to make an emergency landing on its previous flight. The data shows that everything went according to plan. The helicopter went up to a maximum height of 40 feet, about 12 meters, and hovered there for 4.5 seconds before starting to come back down at a speed of 3.3 feet per second, about 1 meter per second. However, when Ingenuity was about 3 feet or 1 meter off the ground, it lost contact with the rover, which helped it communicate with Earth. The next day, communication was restored, and more details about the flight were sent to JPL's ground controllers. Pictures showing the damage to one of the rotor blades arrived a few days later. Before it disappeared, Ingenuity had completed 72 flights. It had spent more than 128 minutes flying and covered a total distance of 17.7 kilometers, as recorded in the mission's flight log. The reason for the loss of communication and how the helicopter was positioned when it landed are still under investigation. So yeah, we do need more time to reach a conclusive answer to this sudden the end. In the far-off future, helicopters on Mars might even assist astronauts in exploring the planet. Furthermore, the helicopter's pictures are being used to help the Perseverance Rover explore Jezero crater. The science team finds these aerial images useful for evaluating which global features and areas are worth exploring. Rover planners also use these images to plan safe routes for the rover to travel. NASA is currently working on a new drone called Dragonfly, which will be powered by nuclear energy. Its mission is to explore Titan, Saturn's biggest moon. They plan to launch Dragonfly no earlier than 2028.